So they had this online for 400 notes. Letter from Ahmed Pasha to the President of the United States, accompanying a message from the President of the United States of the 13th of January, 1806. Letter from the disposed Pasha, notice it says disposed, of Tripoli to President Thomas Jefferson, written from his exile in Syracuse in Sicily. In his exile, the former Pasha describes the tribulations he has suffered since his exile 11 years previous, deprived of family, possession, and country. And that's exactly what's going on with the Moors, man. Their resources, their families being split up, and asked that the president render him due justice. Ahmet Pasha was deposed by his brother, Yusuf, who later demanded tribute from the United States, which President Jefferson refused to pay, thus initiating the Barbary Wars in 1801. So speaking on the Pasha, then in the letter from George Washington to Muhammad ibn Abdullah in 1789, I have also received the letters which your imperial majesty has been so kind as to write in favor of the United States to the Bashas of Tunis. That's what they're speaking of in Tripoli. And I present to you the sincere acknowledgments and thanks of the United States for this important mark of your friendship for them. We greatly regret the hostile disposition of those regencies towards this nation who have never injured them. But then now look, years later, look at this letter. He done been taken from his family, exiled from his land, all of that. So they did injure them. You see the contrast between Washington's note and then now Thomas Jefferson not even wanting to pay tribute to the Moors? Now, before I begin the letter, I just wanted to go through and read the bottom and make this clear too. We can find no bibliographic citation for this item, though the text does appear in the Balance and Columbian Repository for 1806 and in the State Papers and Public Document, 2nd edition, Boston, 1817. This would appear to be its earliest unrecorded printing, and it's for 400 notes, but we only have this top page. And remember, there's another one that comes with, I guess, United States President responding. George Washington was giving thanks, "Oh, great and magnanimous friend," and now they're kind of going back on what they're saying. It's two polar opposite contrasts, like, "Oh, great and magnanimous friend," and now they want to raise the debt ceiling because they like Thomas Jefferson. They don't want to pay their tribute. They want to raise the ceiling. Letter from Ahmed Pasha to the President of the United States, accompanying a message from the President of the United States of the 13th January 1806. Excellence, for nearly 11 years I have been laboring under the weight of misfortune, but notwithstanding which, my distress was never equal to that which the actual combination of circumstances has made it. My residence was near Cairo, when there arrived in Alexandria a brig commanded by Captain Hull in company with General Eaton, who came recommended to Mr. Briggs, H.B.M. Consul, and inquired of him where I could be found. My place of abode being made known, a courier was dispatched for Cairo by order of the general, and on his arrival at Razid, a second one, which came to Cairo, directed to the house of Yusuf Pasha, an officer of the Ottoman port, who received letter in which he was requested to suffer me to pass without interruption, in order that I might cooperate with the Americans. Now, when we're speaking Americans, we're speaking of these European, it's really the United States, to take Tripoli. These things being communicated to me caused me to reflect seriously whether they could be true or not. All doubts were dissipated by General Eating meeting in Cairo, my secretary named Muhammad Mezzaluna, to whom he co-signed another paper. And that's the only paper we have. But you see the big contrast between helping and then you help someone, then they don't want to even do the honorable thing. How I came across the Pasha, or how it was spelled Bashar, was I was studying the Philadelphia burning down in Tripoli. And it brought me to, the history of the United States, but it brought me into a definition in regards to consul too. A consul is an officer appointed by a government to reside in a foreign port, to have a general supervision of the commercial interest of his country there. In some cases, they have powers equal to a minister. Such is the case with consuls within the ports of Mohammedan countries. We know the beys are the governors. The Grand Sheikh supersedes any minister or any consul. So why not just call yourself a Grand Sheikh or the Basha, Pasha, or I also seen, I didn't have it, but it says the governor. You know what I'm saying? Which is a bey. So yeah, burning of the Philadelphia at Tripoli, but it also has Mohammedan soldiers, so I'm gonna look that one up. But it has, this is how I found the Pasha, then I ran across this for sale. It said Pasha, then it had slash, and then said governor. USS Philadelphia, burning of the Philadelphia in the harbor of Tripoli, February 16, 1804 by Edward Moran, painted 1897, depicts a naval action of the First Barbary War. So yeah, it mentioned reference points that has almost the same wording, but this is, I guess, one of the earliest recordings. It says it's the letter, but I don't know if it has. Well, it says accompanying a message from the President of the United States. So to see how he returned his message, but we're going to see what we can't work out, like the accompanying message from the President of the United States. Like they want 400 notes for this, but we're going to go see what we can find out. Islam.